Hello, this is Eric Prince from CPAC 2024 with Off Leash. With me today is the founder of Moms for America.
Hello, Eric. It's a privilege to be here.
Tell me about yourself, Kimberly.
Well, I am a mom. I'm a grandma. I founded the organization in 2004, and my wake-up call, I guess we all have one, mine was 9/11. My husband was stationed at the Pentagon on 9/11, and through a series of literal God-given miracles, he came home safe that day, way late in the evening, and that's the day that changed me. I was always patriotic, you know, pledge the flag and all those things, but that was the day that I went from being patriotic to being a patriot.
Well, I'm sure it's a very different experience to have your spouse come home smelling like smoke.
Yes. Well, for 2 weeks, because he went to work in a burning building for 2 weeks. They had to evacuate numerous times. But it was Donald Rumsfeld. And I remember that night when we were getting ready to go to bed, the phone rings, he comes in and he's got this weird look on his face. And I said, what's the matter? And he said, that was the shop. We're going to work tomorrow. And I'm like, where? How could they possibly have found a building that quick, right? And he said, we're going to work in the Pentagon. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. The Pentagon is on fire. Oh, no, that's okay. They secured it into one ring. And I'm like, are you listening to yourself? And then he said, this is coming from Donald Rumsfeld. We're sending a message to the world.
Right.
We're still here.
Mission continues.
That's it. And I'm
exactly.
like, okay, go, baby, go. And I've just kind of been on the front lines of freedom ever since.
So tell me, what is the goals of Moms for America?
So really, it is restoring the republic, protecting our children, preserving our freedoms, restoring the republic, and doing it through the mothers, helping them understand the true story of America, what their rights are, where they come from, how to effectively exercise them.
Do you guys provide advocacy assistance against school boards, or do you do curriculum? Tell me, what tools do you give for moms?
Yeah, all of those things. So our core signature program is the Cottage Meeting Project. It's like Tupperware for Liberty.
Okay.
Women can bring their friends and neighbors into their home, and we provided all the resources for them to lead a discussion group where they learn the story of America and the principles of liberty in a way that resonates with them through inspiring stories. And then that gets them engaged and excited about sharing it with their children and then protecting it and promoting it in their sphere of influence. So when 2020 hit, we'd already had all these resources in place, and so we were ready to just hit the ground running day one. Here's all the support. So moms just came flooding to us.
Yeah, it's and so necessary, because I just talked to a couple of homeschooled kids yesterday, and they said, man, this kid came to the homeschool from the public school, and he didn't know what the 7 continents were. And he was in 6th grade.
Yeah,
and
it happens in college. So my husband, this is not bashing the military because I love the military, but they were young kids, okay. He was in Canada, and they were being deployed for some mission. And this girl was like talking about, well, so how far south are we from Mexico? And he's like, you're kidding, right? But you know what? They purposely dumbed down our kids, and they took away our history and heritage, and then they started infusing it with lies and deception. And when you're somebody, you know, like you, who served the country and my husband, and then you come home and you realize we're not even protecting it on the home front, I mean, that's got to be devastating for you.
Well, it's certainly frustrating, and when you see the bad choices made by leadership, which really has kind of pissed away any efforts that were made in Iraq or Afghanistan or anywhere, the guys that carry the wounds in their bodies yet, and the spouses that have lost loved ones, to have it wasted by politicians is disgusting, and it's why a thorough house cleaning is necessary. Obviously, the federal government is a malign force in education, but which states, in your mind, are doing the best on education reform, and who's doing the worst?
I would say the best right now would be Florida and Texas. California, Illinois, and there's a new one that just came, Maine. They're awful. I mean, it's not even just about the education and the curriculum anymore. This whole idea of boy and girl, and they're trying to, they literally have counselors who are being hired by the schools to transition these kids. That's their whole goal. That they have one counselor dedicated to transition kids, and the objective is in 2 weeks. And Planned Parenthood lauds the fact that they can do it in one session. And when I say that, people are like, that is insane. How can you do that? Because they're thinking about drugs and surgeries. I'm like, no. They start with the mind. This is emotional and mental warfare on these kids.
Abuse.
It is. It's absolutely abuse. It's inhumane. But this is what they've done. You know, and I spoke in my speech today that we're literally living in Hitler's Germany, Mao's China, and Stalin's Russia, and people don't realize how desperate the situation is. But all three of those
with a modern, bizarre version of eugenics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So all three of those despots, they did exactly the same thing. They went to the children, they pulled them away from their families and everything that gave them foundation.
And you delink them from truth.
Yes.
And you can replace it with any lie
That's
that you
right.
want.
Like a little red book.
Let's talk about the Cultural Revolution.
Okay.
Because I think we have a lot of similarities now. The Cultural Revolution was a communist purge, basically initiated against anything middle class, anything. We want to go after any of the bourgeois elites, any of the symbols remaining in communist China of bourgeois, and to the point of getting the Communist Youth League very stimulated with Mao's Red Book and these little bands of soldiers, empowered paramilitaries,
which most people think were men with uniforms and weapons, and they don't realize, no, they were children.
Yes, children brainwashed to even betray and sometimes kill their parents. What similarities do you see to the Cultural Revolution today?
You know, they're so similar. It's scary. When I go and I talk to moms, one of the first things we do is the first 15 minutes is I give them that history lesson of those three despots, and they realize it immediately. I mean, when Mao closed, he was losing control. You know the story, and he was not happy with losing control. So he had this plan, Reader's Digest version. He shut down the schools. He wrote a book. He got these kids all involved in these little clans and clubs, and then he committed them to this idea of new. The Cultural Revolution, everything new, get rid of everything old. And his wife was put in charge of purging the whole entire country of all Western influence. The sad thing that's happening in our country today is it's our own government that's doing it. There are people who are orchestrating this right in our own elected representatives. And I mean, they obviously know what they're doing. I don't know what the outcome they think is going to be.
I'm undetermined. I'm undecided about whether the level of insanity we're plummeting towards in America, how much of it is self-induced by really stupid elites in America versus foreign influence. And I can't really divine where that line is. But we can't be this stupid and doing things to ourselves. But you know, I shudder to think if we are. I
think there's a little bit of both, unfortunately. When you dumb down society so much through the school system, and you're no longer raising citizens who are going to understand the Constitution or what America's about or what freedom actually is. It doesn't mean you get to do whatever you want. It means you have the opportunity to succeed and to try and fail, succeed or not. Learn from what your experience is. It's the American dream. And they don't understand what that is. And now we have all of these people that they're opening the floodgates of other countries, these people who are coming in, we have no idea who they are, where they're coming from, and those who are coming here illegally who really do want to live the American dream, they'll never experience it because they will always be living in fear, and the whole entire time we're destroying it.
Yeah. When I look at the real financial pressures in America to have two-income families, where the mom in a lot of cases doesn't have the choice to stay home and watch the kids, or is pressured societally. In a normal functioning, highly competitive economy, you have a deflationary environment, which means things get cheaper, which is great, which is the best for the people that are in the lowest levels of income, and these clowns with inflationary spending and the ability for government to print unlimited amounts of money is why the rich have gotten richer and everybody else gets squeezed. How many of your members homeschool versus pursue school choice, or what's kind of the breakdown of that? Because obviously educating the next generation is the most important. It's got to be that main mama bear instinct to protect. How does that break down?
Well, the homeschool movement has exploded, obviously, since 2020. A lot of moms who were forced into home educating realized they could do it better, and so they didn't send them back. But I would still say that most of our members are public school, some are private school, maybe 40% maybe are homeschooled. But what's really happening right now is more and more are starting to realize there are other options. Churches are starting to open their doors for parents to be able to start pods. Teachers who have left the system are connecting with parents who are looking for teachers. And we're looking for solutions outside of the current system because we have to make sure our children are getting a good education.
Well, I mean, the whole premises of Thomas Jefferson and public education was to provide a common, colorblind, equal footing to improve people and to educate them. And now it's become exactly the opposite. So it will sort itself out as long as I think the competitive alternatives are available.
I think it's going to have to sort itself out because too many people are not happy with what's going on. And the only thing that people like you and I need to do is make sure that they know what real solutions are. You see the problem, you know the problem, but you really understand the depth of the problem, where it's coming from, who the enemy actually is. When they know that, then you introduce them to the solutions that will make a difference, and you give them the tools and resources that will help them to be effective in small doses where they are.
Yeah. Of your membership base, I'm sure the challenges, the threats of social media and all the propaganda that is pushed through them. I saw a frightening statistic that a kid, by the time they reach the age of 13 in America, that advertisers have collected 72 million data points on them. Every preference, every schedule, every really human interaction they have is logged by these advertisers. One thing you should know about, perhaps you heard me talk about it, is a phone that we've developed, which is completely independent of Google and Apple. And it was made it really resulted from a rage phone call after the 2020 election. Of frustration to say, we need our own platform that cannot be canceled or affected by Google or Apple. So we did it. This is called an unplugged phone.
Okay.
And it doesn't have an app.
Looks like you have all the apps on there that...
Correct. But the difference is this phone doesn't have an advertising ID. An advertising ID is almost like the digital mark of the beast. It's this 25-digit long alphanumeric code that's on your phone, which follows you around. It makes it exceedingly easy to track you. They know where you go, what you buy, who you call, and what you browse. And they use that, the phone maker, to sell your data to advertisers. And that advertising ID works with all the apps sitting on your phone to also collect all your preferences, all that you're doing. It's so bad that I've had many people I've talked to said, yes, I was talking to my wife, not searching, talking to my wife in our bedroom about a need for a mattress, and the next day they're getting advertising for mattresses. So the advertising ID in those apps are able to turn on your microphone, your GPS, your camera, and this phone is different because our our operating system blocks any attempt by those apps to do that. It's the first phone actually with a firewall. So it's available, and we'd love to talk more to you guys and educate your base.
I would love to talk about that, and I have some questions about this because if the companies can do it to the consumers, can the organizations like Planned Parenthood or all of these entities that are trying to get to our kids do the same thing?
Of course, Planned Parenthood can also buy that data as to who's searching certain topics and use that to push advertising to those kids, to push abortion, to push transgender surgery, to push whatever the de jure deviance that the evil left is choosing to push.
So this could be a tool for sex traffickers, for pedophiles, for Planned Parenthood, for anybody pushing an agenda or trying to get to our kids.
When I say that the traditional phones with an advertising ID, not us, the traditional phone, they use that to basically digitally profile a kid 72 million times. So in an era of AI being able to push content to specific people, a young kid with a smartphone is a big target.
Yeah.
This makes them a much smaller, much harder of a target to get after.
And this is something kids can use?
Yes, and in fact, if there's education apps, if there are things that the big woke tech doesn't want to have, we are a perfect home for that capability, because whether it's homeschool curriculum or whatever that someone might find too offensive, it's a perfect home with us at Unplugged, because it's our own store, our own operating system on our own hardware, so no one can tell us what we can have and what we can't have.
So
I promise you, we will never have a pregnant man emoji in our our phone.
Thank you. So can you use your own phone? How do you do the phone service when you use it? You have the phone service?
You buy a Patriot Mobile SIM or T-Mobile, AT&T.
Patriot Mobile?
Yes. So, but T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T all works. So you buy a data package, and the phone goes. But the difference is our phone is not collecting your data and exporting it. You're in control of it solely.
So have you heard of Gab?
I heard of it, yes.
Okay, so it was a phone. It's not as in depth as this. I really like this concept, but it was created specifically for kids to be able to feel like they have a smartphone without having access to the internet or the sources to get them. But I'm thinking that even in that situation, they would still be somebody's still collecting data, right?
Because there's an advertising ID. Yes, we don't. So we have literally a firewall that blocks any of those attempts by apps to export your data to any advertiser or whoever.
You can watch movies and everything on this phone?
Yes. Yeah.
Why doesn't everybody have this phone?
Because building a new phone and taking on two $1 trillion companies is not a small endeavor. But we're here now, and I've got 10,000 coming, and they're arriving in April. So
fantastic. Well, I definitely want to talk about this. I'd love to have you on our podcast to talk about this with our moms. Anytime we have a great resource that we can share. We've got to have alternatives.
Moms are all about protecting the flock.
Yes.
We're about that as well.
Yes, and everything that used to support us is now going against us. Yep. So when we find something like this that supports us, a resource that will help us protect our kids, we're all in.
Giddy up. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.